Hi guys, it's Rosie. In today's video, I wanted to actually walk you through one of my color corrections that I just recently did. And the first thing I want to say about color corrections is it takes time. Now you're also going to want to make sure that when you think of doing a color correction, it's usually minimum 2 services to get an even slate, sometimes 3 services for that, but honestly, we are so lucky that this color correction I recently did, it was only 1 service, and I'm so excited to show you guys the result, so let's get right into it. Now, before I have anyone come into the salon, I usually do a thorough consultation online. So wherever they decided to message me on, whether that's Facebook Messenger or Instagram, I usually go in and let them know, the time it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, and what's going to be expected for this service once they come in. So for this service, my client had actually reached me through Facebook and she let me know ahead of time, I believe it's going to be a color correction. And the best thing that a client can do is to understand that their hair is a color correction, because a lot of the times people think it's just going to be like a quick fix, highlights or balayage, but a lot of the times we're actually fixing what was previously done. So it was a huge relief to know that my client already knew ahead of time that she had a color correction that she wanted to book a service for. I let her know that, depending on what we are trying to look for this time, it may take a couple of services. So this is something that she at least knew ahead of time before coming into the salon. So there were no miscommunication of why isn't my hair the way I want it right now. So 100%, I always like to say, guys, patience is key, because when you are not patient and you decide to rush a service, you're only going to compromise the hair. So I had my client send me a photo of her hair currently and a photo of what she would like to get done throughout the services that we need to potentially do. So when she sent me her photo, I knew right away that she had fine hair. So fine hair means 2 things. It will lift the color out really quickly, but at the same time, it's more prone to breakage and damage. So knowing this, going forward, I decided, we could try to get the color out as much as we can. But I think the first service that we're going to do is really to try to get as much of that color out and give you more of an even slate. So that was our number 1 goal with this first service. Now, my client ended up sending me another photo of a close-up of her hair color. So from this photo, you could see that her roots were more of like a hot roots, and so it was a little bit more of that deep red, the plum look, and then we had a band right at the midsection of the black deposited color. I knew this was going to be more of the problem area, so I did go ahead and tell her, you know what, the roots are going to lift to more of a yellow, your midsection is going to be like a red, dark orange, and then we're going to have the ends that are potentially going to be yellow, or it's going to be more of the orange side. So this is something that I let her know beforehand so she could prepare for her hair once we put the lightener on and not freak out that it's going to be orange, right? So this is what happens once we put lightener on top of that. So after our consultation, we were both on the same page. She let me know that she was totally fine with doing a couple services to achieve the color she wants to eventually get to, and I booked her in for an appointment. So when she sat in the chair, I knew right away, okay, hair is kind of compromised. It's a little bit dry at the ends. You've previously been a blonde, but you put dark brown, red plum on top multiple times. So again, in order to know how the hair is going to lift, we really have to put the lightener on in order to know what's going to come out and what's going to stay inside. So I knew that this was going to be a longer service because we are going to go section by section from the back all the way to the sides and the front. So I knew that I was going to start off with a 20 vol lightener, and I was going to start at the back because if it starts to lift too quickly, I was going to rinse her out and let her sit for a little bit longer at the sides and the top. I did go in with thin slices because she had fine texture hair, so I didn't want to have any blotchiness, or make sure that we were fully saturated before moving on to the next section. So we did go from the nape area all the way to her crown area. And once I finished her crown area, I did go ahead and check the very first foils to see how quickly she was lifting, and she indeed was lifting really quick. So now I just want to mention, I didn't go in with the roots, or I didn't put any of the lightener on the ends yet. I only put it on the midsection because that's where the color is deposited the most. So I wanted to make sure we had enough time that it was sitting on the midsection, and then to go ahead and do the roots and then going on to the ends. So once all of her foils were all done, it was all section by section, I decided to go in and do her roots. Now, because we know that the roots give off a lot of heat, I wanted to definitely stay on the lower end of the volume. So I chose 20 again because I knew it was going to lift in about 15 minutes. And now by that time, her back and her sides were sitting out for a while. So it would level out at the same time to the point where we can just rinse it all out at the same time. While I was waiting for the roots to process, I did go ahead to every foil and start doing the ends. Now the ends are really fragile parts of the hair, so I wanted to do this last. So I went ahead and did all the ends on every single foil, and from there, I honestly just took her to the sink and rinsed her completely out, because at that point, a lot of the times your ends are already blonde, or you've already had a blonde in there previously, so it doesn't need to stay on that long. It could be 5 to 10 minutes, and by that point it's already going to take out any of the color that was previously on top. Now the toner part is going to be the most important when it does come to a color correction, because you are now in charge of choosing the color that is going to be the best to make sure everything from root to end is going to be even. So I did go ahead and use a 7B because we lost a lot of warmth at her root area, right? We had a lot of just pale yellows, so we wanted to still add a little bit of warmth in there and a little bit of depth. So I added the 7B to her roots. And then from the 7B, I also apply the 7.1 ash onto her midsection, leaving out the ends again. So we have the 7B at the roots, and then I had the 7.1 at the midsection. Now, once I did all of this, I took her to the sink, and then we did go and emulsify to the ends, because again, the ends are going to soak in the color really quick. Now, as I was doing the toner, I did take some weaves out and started doing another application of lightener. So I did want to at least have a little bit of dimension going on in there, and her hair was actually not damaged at all. So I knew that we would be able to handle a little bit more of the lightener at only a couple of the pieces though. So I only did about 4 foils at the side, just to kind of brighten up some of the pieces on the outside of the hair. And I left that on while we were doing the toner as well. I left her toner and lightener on for about 20 minutes, and then I rinsed her completely out. At this point, we knew we had even from root to ends, and we had dimension going through. So the toner I ended up using for the entirety of the hair was an 802 and a 911. I know this sounds really strange, but I wanted to still get rid of as much warmth as possible, even though we wanted to kind of keep it on the more natural side of things, and we wanted to have a little bit of warmth. But because she was holding a lot of warmth underneath already, I knew I could still get rid of some of the underlying pigment there. So I did go ahead with a violet and an ash to counteract any of the extra warmth that we had there, in hopes that we can get more of a natural dark blonde level 7. We were so happy about her results because we got it so even this first service. And I just want to mention to you guys, this doesn't always happen on the first try with color services like this. It's just she had the kind of perfect hair to come in with. She had fine texture, she had been previously blonde, and she didn't have years of box dye brown put on top. So you do want to just keep that in mind, because a lot of these services, it's usually minimum 2 services for color correct just to get an even slate, and then from there you can start adding, highlights, lowlights, and the balayage to kind of give it dimension. Now it's crazy because her hair actually seems a lot healthier than it was coming in, because we did use the Olaplex number 1, 2, and 7. So I was able to actually repair any of the damage that she had previously, and to minimize any more of the disintegrity that was going to be compromised. So Olaplex or any bond builder, while you're doing color services like this, you want to always ask for those types of treatments, because it is going to make a huge difference in your results and also in the feeling of the hair. This service did take 4 hours altogether. It took about 2 hours for the application part for the blonde. So going from midsection to the roots, now to the ends, altogether that was 2 hours. And then we of course had the toners, the 2 of the toners that we did put in, and then we did the blow dry and style. So that altogether took 2 hours. You don't know what to expect, right? So a lot of the times when I do a color service like this, I have only that client that day, because you just really don't know what kind of things you're going to run into or problems that may occur, your hair is always going to look so much better when it is strong and healthy. It's also going to last you a lot longer than someone that has more compromised or damaged hair. So always try to remember that patience is key. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments if it was informative, and make sure to follow me on my Facebook and Instagram page. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.